I'm back for another goddamn review. And this time I'm going to review a movie that I saw a few months ago that I thought it was going to be worth my time, but I didn't seem to enjoy it as much. Another movie based on a current event that happened around April 20th, 2010. Excuse me. This movie I'm reviewing is the Deepwater Horizon that's directed by Peter Berg. And the overrated as hell Mark Wahlberg, Marky Mark, who plays Mike Williams, right? Chief Electronics Mike Williams. This movie takes place around April 20th, 2010. There's a reason why I watched this movie. If it wasn't based on something that of a time that I do recall that isn't blurry to me, I wouldn't be watching this movie. This movie is based on the last times that I actually remember how life was. You know, because I don't freaking remember how life was in the early 2010s. Don't even ask me why. Deepwater Horizon drilling, drilling rig explodes in the Gulf of Mexico. Whoop de doo, igniting a massive fireball that kills several crew members. You got Chief Technician Mike Williams and his colleagues find themselves like fighting for survival as the heat and flames become stifling and overwhelming, banding together, and the co-workers must use their wits to make it out alive in middle of the chaos. Now I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think this movie is that great. To be honest, I don't think this movie is that special. Like everybody else is basically smushing and kissing its rear end about how great this movie is just because it's based on a current event and basically has a good story or whatever the hell why you love it so much. It's like a compelling story but lack of emotional depth. Let's see. It's like a Titanic on an oil rig, a really intense depiction of the real event that emphasizes the dangers of oil drilling in the ocean. Let's see. To be honest, it looked interesting and seemed to start well with good characters and obviously a known story to base events on. However, the filming style made it a little unwatchable for me, at least. Some people seem not to notice. Shake the camera around and it'll make it feel like the audience is really there. It'll add tension, doesn't work. Has never worked for the odd scene here and there. Maybe if done right, but when I'm there, my head doesn't bob up and down. Yeah, it doesn't bob up and down or wobble about. Nor do I zoom into someone's face, nor do my eyes track across the room when I move my head from left to right. It lasted about 20 minutes. Oh my gosh. I feel like I want to hurl. Um, let's see. A lot of people seem to not dislike it as much as I do, but it's hard for me to basically find something to type up from my list, from my notes. It's just a realistic film about the worst oil disaster in American history. What we have learned from it, the greedy corporations place like profit over worker or public safety. Same old, same old. It's just a nice tribute to this true story. But this movie is neither an entertaining disaster flick nor an informative documentary. It's so hard to know why I'm sitting through all the explanations of how oil rigs work as told through whatever the heck that accent Malkovich is attempting. Fatally boring. Definitely had its moments towards the end, but the movie lacked emphasis on key moments where characters could have done something but didn't. It's yeah, like I said, it's fatally boring. Although the film holds up pretty well in pace, and the action seems to not be very interesting in the real stories behind the tragedy. The characters in this movie were really cliched. I couldn't get involved emotionally in any way. Not clear what really happened. BP was like greedy, that was it. Unlikely. Loads of special effects where we have no clue what's going on. If it's really bad or not compared to a show like Chernobyl. It was a waste of my time. God, I can't stand that fucking accent, John Malkovich. Fake accent. I'm not saying this movie is bad or anything. It was decent. It was just decent. It's not that special. I've seen something like this before in other documentary movies. Wahlberg in this movie is usually awful, but strangely, this isn't too bad of a film. It's not something I want to watch again because I don't. It's not my favorite. It's not something I would watch from time to time. It's forgettable. I didn't even know this movie existed until I looked it up. The depiction of the astral catastrophe is visually impressive, particularly because you can't tell the CGI at all. Something I do not expect. Still, the first hours was quite hard to sit through due to contrived elements and most of the dialogue, storyline, and the corny depiction of the main characters' background stories. Not something I watched twice, but as action thrills based on true events go. No, it's basically a pass. It's basically passable. I mean, it was good enough for what it was, like a creative representation of a historical event. I mean, the actors can be great. I don't like the shaky camera tactic that some directors are usually using lately. Let me repeat myself because I mess up my words a lot because I don't like the shaky camera tactic that some directors using lately. Though, and while the accents illustrated the actors' talents and were probably mirroring authenticity, they made it hard to understand the dialogue at times. I don't fault the film for not having developed characters with the story arcs. I don't think there was much of the creators could do with the material to make the audience attach more to the characters. They would have to really focus on one character and had one interesting life or make up stuff up in order to do that. And they have to spend a lot of time prior to the disaster developing a personal storyline. That would bore people. They opted for an attempt at doing this without spending much time on it and without an interesting personal plot or supporting characters, like the wife and the kid, because they weren't interesting. They only prolonged the beginning in a boring way. Still, I get why the curators did this. So my only real complaint is that the shaky camera. Other than that, it was whatever. You know, I mean, Deep Horizon, the director put the final result on the table when man puts ambition and greed over safety as negligence allows to classify an accident fact of this type easy to avoid if the basic safety rules had been followed. Rest in peace to all the guys that actually lost their lives during that horrible event. Hold on a second, guys. So yeah, I don't get why this movie's getting praised. It's just another your typical overly boring, shaky camera documentary action thriller nonsense that I've been seeing nowadays. The reason why I don't like going to the theaters nowadays is it's not even worth it. Like, I bored myself watching this crap. Probably the most overrated, boring ass, crappy, mediocre action thriller film that nobody talks about, nobody gives a crap anymore because this is from 10 years ago. You know, I don't know why I'm making a review of this. I'm just telling you how it is. Like, I don't really enjoy modern movies like, especially like this. This is my review. What a waste of time.